We're going to have a brother on who is an avowed nationalist and a brother who has written a book and who is in agreement with the principles of the BAIO, which again is the Black African Infrastructure Organization. And we, of the full philosophy that we have, we believe in simplifying it by three simple words, which is land, infrastructure, and nationhood. We believe as nationalists and not revolutionaries that we as a people will never be free, will never be prosperous, will never be independent unless we have land. We also believe that on that land, because you could have land in America, you could have land in Europe, you could have land anywhere, but we believe on that land that you need to control, maintain, as well as fortify infrastructure. We believe that you, as the people, black people, need to be the ones that's running the electricity, need to be the ones that's running the sewage system, need to be the ones that's running the information, need to be the ones that are controlling the produce and groceries that go in and out. All of the things that make a nation run, a city run, a government run, we believe that we should be controlling the bare bones of these things, that you cannot just fly a flag and say that you are a nation. You cannot be even considered a nation unless you have infrastructure. And finally, we believe in nationhood. And this is what separates us from the philosophy of others who claim to be revolutionaries. Not saying that revolution or revolutionaries is a bad thing or the wrong thing, but we are different because we believe in nationhood, which means that you and I need to have an independent nation. And what we have grown up to understand is that nation cannot be on the shores of your enemy. It cannot be on the shores of your oppressor. It has to be off the shores of your oppressor and off the shores of at least the headquarters has to be off the shores of your oppressor. And we believe that within the country of America that we can have satellite communities. So in other words, we believe that we would never as a people be able to experience true freedom, justice, and equality until we have our own nation and we claim nationhood. And so I'm grateful to Allah to be here today, brothers and sisters, and I have to restate these points because people really don't understand the movement called BAIO. Some take needless shots at it, and I think that we as members need to restate the goals as simply as possible, that brothers and sisters, nobody is saying that there should be some mass exodus, some Noah's Ark kind of movement from here to another place, in example, Africa. But we do believe that there should be a sample of us, a portion of us, our best and our brightest, that would go over to do just what I said just now, to acquire land, to establish, to build, and maintain infrastructure. And therefore, those being the best and brightest begin to put together governmental constitution, laws, rules, regulations, rewards, and punishments, and that way we could have nationhood. If you do not do that, then you're not really serious about being a nation. We now, with this radio network, are putting out the call that if you have the skills, that if you love black people and you have nationalism in your heart, that if you understand a certain aspect of infrastructure, whether it be physical infrastructure or whether it be administrative infrastructure, and that you in some way, shape, or form want to be connected to your own land, that now is the time to join us and connect with us. And with that, brothers and sisters, again, we are very happy today to have our brother on, our brother Louis Jefferson. And he will talk about his book. He will talk about his philosophies. But I don't want to get to talking anymore, so let me bring our brother in. Good brother, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Mr. Dawood, I'm here. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How you doing today, sir?
Great. Oh, I'm doing outstanding. And it's just great to hear your spirit. It's great to hear the structural development that you're trying to give to the people. And I'm just excited to be on your show and be a part of what you're doing.
Yes, sir. I mean, first of all, brother, I have to apologize for such a long delay because my schedule was so busy. When I put together my own show, it's like, it's in a small vacuum on Sunday, and I really don't have a great deal of time. So, it just made it happen today. I just happened to be coming back from out of town with my family, and I said, let me go ahead and do this show with this brother and then mass promote it afterwards. in opposed to creating it this morning and then promoting it, because I really didn't have that huge amount of time to do so. However, I do think that what we're going to talk about today is really, really important and germane to the topic of land infrastructure and nationhood. So I guess the first topic I want to ask you, brother, is can you please tell us a little about your background, how you became a nationalist yourself, and your basic skills also?
Okay, yes. My background, I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, to Louis Jefferson, who was ex-military from Korea, who understood that he was fighting in Korea but didn't have the rights and privileges that the citizens here in the United States didn't have in the United States. And he always instilled in me the need to understand who I am as an African man, and my sisters as well, and what we would need to seek true liberation. So I've always been taught that from a little boy. And then my mother was born in Selma, Alabama. She was born in actually Lowndes County. And so she was always very interested in moving us in a direction of self-determination as well. And she really wanted us to become educated. So I grew up in that sort of household, and my background, based on that, coming from there, I was an athlete, and so I eventually got a football scholarship to play football at Kent State, and I excelled in football and excelled in academics. My background in education was biology, human physiology, and so I was studying that at the same time I was playing football. I joined the fraternity, Omega Psi Phi fraternity, while I was at Kent State. And then I went on from Kent State to go into epidemiology in the study of statistical analysis of diseases. I also have a master's in health education that I got from Kent, and the other master's is from the University of Pittsburgh. Additionally, I went to medical school at the University of Toledo, and I still have 2 years to complete before I become a medical doctor as well. So that's kind of like my background. If you'd like some more, I could tell you more.
Oh, sure. Well, that's a blessing, brother. Like, I did not know you had two masters. That's definitely a blessing, and so that gives our readers a framework of your background. And so let's dig into this a little bit deeper. So before we go into the meat of our nationhood discussion, please tell our readers what the name of your book is and talk about that, because that bio that you gave me, man, that was very interesting. Your perspective on, I don't want to spoil it. Just please talk about it. Then I ask you questions later, because I don't want to get myself excited. Go ahead.
Okay, Brother Dowd. Yes, the name of the book is All Revolutionary Cues Proposes Revolution for Black Fraternity Relevance to the Global African Struggle. And with that said, I mean, I like what you began with, in the sense that, we do need to build nations. And and that's exactly what, when I mention revolution, I don't mention it in the sense that you have to be a revolutionary to be a nationalist. I wrote the premise of the book to say that we need a revolution of our mindset, unfortunately, because we've been miseducated. And so in order to revolve, we probably have to revolve in order to even reach the point of nationalism. And,
right.
And I think that's one reason why I made the title of the book the way that I wrote it. And what I meant by that revolution for black fraternity relevance is that right now, black fraternities are at the margins of doing anything relevant for our global African struggle. We're consistently doing pretty much fluffy little token gestures for communities, but nothing substantive that will help thwart the onslaught of destruction that black people are facing in this country. And I felt that we should build something, because we are a pool of intellectuals. We should be, because we typically, most people in black fraternities and sororities do receive good educations, but we typically use that education to build the structures that are oppressing us. We build their banks,
Right.
we build their farms, we build their schools, we build their businesses, we impose their laws, we fight their wars. And so I felt that we should begin to start thinking as individuals in order to uplift the downtrodden through what we have built. Our fraternities, particularly Omega Psi Phi, has built an infrastructure in the sense that it has a banking system that could be utilized in the proper way to build nations, just like what BAIO is standing for. I would love for us, Omega Psi Phi, to join BAIO in saying, okay, we're going to begin to build an infrastructure through our banking system that will fund the ability for us to build nations.
Okay, see, now this is the part of the bio that really got me interested, because you were talking about that infrastructure that you had. You had the banking system, you had a collection of resources, as in you had various different individuals that had different skills, of course, being educated and things like that. And you said that it used to be something that that you could use to build communities, but it's not anymore. So, I don't know if you're familiar, but in the BAIO, we have two different classifications. We have your host nation or country, in which you would establish off the shores of America. And then within America, you have what's called satellite communities. In my judgment, our vision is in harmony when you think of a black fraternity not financing a nation necessarily in America, but using that kind of model, using the model of having skilled individuals and educated individuals to to build and control a community. That in and of itself would definitely build a satellite community. Do you agree?
Oh, I absolutely agree. Yes, I do. And actually devoted a section in the book for African diaspora advocacy, and I pretty much advocate similar suggestions that you just mentioned in order for us to begin to look at Africa and look at where we are here and look at the global needs there. Because if we are to build a nation in Africa, we'll have to begin to understand the international and geopolitical geopolitical position that many countries in Africa are being influenced by through imperialism here in the United States and the NATO imperialists. We have to understand that and begin to join that struggle. And we can influence that here in the United States. We can impose, through our democratic process, legislation that looks out for our interests, just like the Jewish people here do for Israel.
That's right. Absolutely, brother. So I guess before we get into the full nationalist conversation, one more thing about fraternities, because you talked about a revolution. What's ironic is that I myself, when speaking on the aspect of revolution, you have your dictionary definition of it, then you have the accepted definition of it. And I myself, I talk about that also, but I talk about it with black organizations and the black movement. In other words, like your staple black organizations, the way they've been doing things for years, it's now outdated. You know what I'm saying? Not the teachings of those organizations, but the way they do things and such. So you can't sell the same product anymore. You can't you can't bring people and put them to work the same way anymore. You can't enforce the same kind of laws anymore. There's so many things that there needs to be a change, completely change in the mind state as well as the policies. And that to me is what 13 Revolution is about. It's about causing a change in black movements, but the ultimate goal of change in black movements is to support the goal of BAIO, which is to have a nation of your own. I see your idea of black fraternities in that way, but can you please tell us what ended up happening? What broke down that relevance that these fraternities used to have to make them what they are today?
Yes, yeah, and I'd like to begin, in reading a statement of our objectives in Omega Psi Phi. It's a statement that many people, even within Omega Psi Phi, don't tend to understand where we should go with this. And I'll read it. It says, to bring about a union of college men of similar high ideas of scholarship manhood in order to occupy a progressive, helpful, and constructive place in civic and political life domestically and internationally. Omega is to prepare its members for greater usefulness in causes of humanity, freedom, dignity, and the individual. Lastly, it should aid the downtrodden humanity in its efforts to achieve higher social, economic, and intellectual status. So with that said, I think that the brothers at the time that established Omega Psi Phi had those intentions in mind, and I think through various forms of social, socialization here in the United States, it got watered down. We began to melt into the objectives of the United States. At that time, this was 1911. So most brothers and sisters here in the United States at least knew that the oppressor was standing on their necks.
Right.
But then as time progressed, some people were given advantages, and they utilized those advantages and forgot about the people that they were set to serve and lift everyone at the same time. And I think that's what happened.
Right. Right. So would you say it's sort of a resource issue in the way of, see, because this is like, I think about this problem all the time, brother. And I say to myself, you know what, even in establishing your own nation, you will have some people who, okay, so let me just take an example. A lot of people say when they have strikes with the major sports leagues, such as NBA, NFL, MLB, a lot of people say, well, we should have our own leagues in Africa. I believe that also. However, what I do look at is that I do know that there will be some people who will try to do this, but then there will also be some people who will sell out and try to defect when given the opportunity to make more money than they could, quote unquote, make within your own, independent nation. So I guess what the problem that I struggle with or wrangle with a lot of times is, how do you override such corruption? Because I am a person that believes that, when there's an environment where there's so much temptation, corruption is inevitable. I don't know the proper slogan for that, but I do believe corruption is inevitable. And so therefore, what happened to your organization and what's now happening in the black organizations, because you want to know something, brother, the revolutionary movements in America, all of them, the staple ones, the best and the brightest have been basically milked from them organizations also, because basically the country and the industries that they are in offered them, basically more money, more resources, whatever. And they said to themselves, what the hell am I fighting for? Why don't I just go make money, leave this alone, and let these people die in squalor? I do believe that that's kind of what you're saying, what happened with the fraternities. So is there any way in your mind that we could prevent that today where we couldn't prevent it yesterday?
I think one model that we would, well, I was going to mention the Garvey movement in relation to what was happening with the banking system in Omega Psi Phi. Like right now, we have a credit union that could be utilized to build, but we have a lot of corruption. And so, but with a credit union, you have the ability to have the people that are investing in the credit union receiving dividend statements as well as dividends, and that would allow the people to hold the leadership of the bank accountable, because if you're invested, you know where the money is. So in that sense, I do think that you could put checks in place so that the people can watch the corruption. And one other thing that I was interested in when I wrote this book was to increase the expectations of the people so that the people begin to monitor the organizations that are set up to really work to serve them. I want the people to be able to be alert to that and say, okay, we're struggling in the streets. They're gunning us down. You see it in the news daily. We're not getting any justice from that system. The people are becoming restless with that. But if they have some guidance to say, okay, well, we have these structural organizations and we can use those, and we're elevating the expectation of the people to to demand for those organizations to work for them, then I think the people will begin to demand a less corrupt organization, an organization that really works for them. You know, you look at Vietnam and the Vietnamese people that were committed to struggle, or you look at the revolutionary acts in say Burkina Faso. People were committed because someone was standing on their back, and to the point where they did not want to take anything else, and they said, okay, we're going to formulate something in order to eliminate the oppression that we're experiencing.
Right. Got you. Okay, so in your bio, your personal bio, one of the things you talked about is nation building as a proactive approach in opposed to a reactive approach. Can you please give the listeners your thoughts on that?
Yes, yeah. I think in a proactive approach, you look at a lot of the things that you mentioned in the beginning. We need infrastructure in order to look at the fundamentals and the basics of what we need as a people. We need a proper education that allows us to love ourselves rather than hate ourselves and do destructive things for ourselves. So we would need for our educators to begin to have an Afrocentric way of teaching us and having us understand our true history in the way that we contributed to this world. And then we also need mathematical skills, but our mathematical skills should also be in a line with what we're trying to build as a people, what we learned about ourselves from the past, how we built monumental structures that are still raised to this day. We can do that again through understanding that and understanding the mathematics behind that. Again, a proactive way would be, like we mentioned before, controlling the electronics and understanding the electronics. But not only understanding electronics, understanding how you process energy to establish the electrical grids and electrical circuits. Looking at the windmill energy, looking at how a water stream can generate energy if you put the right gears aligned that the water pushes in order to create this current. You create electricity. We need to know those basic skills. We need to know that. And so in building, in truly fighting oppression, those are the types of things that an African intellectual should be thinking about, because we're learning engineering in school, we're learning mathematics in school, but we're not learning it in a way that would allow us to build an electrical grid and utilize energy. We're able to do that for GE, General Electric. We can get a job for General Electric, and we can have a PhD in engineering, but we may not even know how to generate electricity out of water. So these are the things that I mean when I mean proactive measures.
And I most certainly agree with that, brother. We definitely, I'm going to ask you a question in a second, but we definitely are only learning enough to help the companies that would hire us, and that's the problem.
Yes.
But I do think that in 2015 or 2016, I should say, some of that is on us. And the reason why I say that
Yes.
is because you can go beyond what you're learning in school, but so many brothers and sisters don't want to go beyond what they're learning in school. And I guess my question to you is, do you think having a territory, a land of your own, and being connected to it would give you that nationalism in your heart to overcome those kind of limitations? Or do you think that it just has to be in the individual? Because it's always been my thought that a lot of times we don't do certain things because we're just not motivated to do them.
Mm-hmm,
I really think that if we had, you know what I'm saying, if we was like, okay, you are doing this to enrich your nation. You're doing this, for instance, like, you know, I have conversations with my son about his future. He says, oh, Dad, I want to come into your industry. I say, okay, you're going to have to do this, and this. But when you do this, and this, do you realize that you will, by the time you're 25, you will be making almost six figures? He can't see that right now because he's 16. I think a lot of times black people who go to schools, who are a part of anything that has to do with some kind of skill that can go further, we don't see the long-term benefit, so we stop at a certain point just enough to draw a paycheck and buy a couple of things. So do you think that, what is your thoughts on that? Do you think that by having a landmass to be connected to, that would increase our desire or our will to go further?
Yes, I do think so. I think that we will begin to, or we will have to begin to understand that we're not treated well or wanted here in the United States, and in a sense, the oppressor is kind of helping us move to motivate us to look beyond and try to start thinking of ways to build for ourselves in a land of our own. And right. I think that will be a motivating factor for us to do that. I mean, it has been for me, and certainly our children must begin to understand that. I know, for example, when I look at the movement that Thomas Sankara tried to establish in Burkina Faso, the people were motivated to build to plant trees because he openly explained to them that this land was for them, but they also experienced the brutality of the French.
Right.
Which clearly let them know that, okay, anything is better than going back to that. So we're going to have to really work on the leadership of Thomas Sankara in planting trees and building a water supply and uniting with other nations that are trying to build and working the land in that way. So I guess my answer to your question is that yes, we as we become more and more brutalized and see the injustice that we're even though we go out and vote, we still have judicial systems that just deny law. So if we do vote for a judge to come in or a prosecutor to come in, they still do whatever they want to do anyway. And so the people will begin to understand that they have to be independent.
Right. My brother Chef Rob has a question for you. We talked about Omega Psi-Phi, the infrastructure that they had, the banking system. I'm not sure if that includes a credit union, but he wants to know what does it take to start a credit union and the benefits of starting one, and how would that benefit us as a people here in America in satellite communities, as well as establishment of our own nation.
Oh, yes. So credit unions are established through what they call this FCU, and I'm not an expert at starting a credit union because I know we already have one. But I do think that, there's something that you can certainly, and I've looked it up too as far as the background on how to establish a credit union through FCU. This is like it's a federal, what do you call it? I don't want to misspeak, but there's a federal organization that will allow you to compile all of the information that you need, and it's not that hard to set up in order to set up one, because part of the book says that I would like for other organizations to set up a credit unions, whether Omega Psi Phi has one, but another organization like BAIO could set up a credit union as well and do the same thing. Credit unions are good because, like I said, they pay dividends to their members. They can also provide lower, I should say, they should provide loans with less stringent rules to get those loans, as far as housing, as far as cars, and that sort of thing. They have looser abilities to provide those if the credit union has good backing. One thing that I will say to the brother, what was the brother's name?
That's Chef Rob.
Brother Chef Rob, I will say that the credit union, as far as a loan is concerned, it can loan up to 10% of what it has in the credit union, its liquid capital. So say, if you want to establish a credit union that can loan for a house per se, and you have houses that may cost in between $100,000 and $400,000, you know that your credit union would have to have at least $4 million in it. So you start
right
from there, and so I do know that. But yeah, I think that we should all consider establishing those for our organizations, rather than investing in commercial banks. And that was a strong point of the book as well, because I think that if we begin to divest from commercial banks and invest in ourselves, we can build an economy for us rather than continually making these capitalist, imperialist banking structures richer and richer and making ourselves poorer and poorer.
Right. Yes, sir. For myself, just on a side note about that, I think that if we had some kind of credit system that was black-owned for black people in a black satellite community, that would accelerate those who are, basically paying for some kind of skill. What I mean by that is that I know that, just for me, to get where I've needed to go, I had to invest a lot of money into my career. And It wasn't traditional college. So because it was not traditional college, there was no loan, there was no grant. And, I was told that there was money that was, basically provided for the federal government if you had education, like you could write it off. But, man, when they saw, the courses I was taking, they was like, no, this doesn't apply. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I basically had to come out of my pocket with overtime and set other ways to get to where I was. And a lot of people just don't understand that, what you invest in your career pays back 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. However, I just think a lot of people don't have that money. So for me, I think that if we had some kind of borrowing system that was not as oppressive as the traditional American system, that in and of itself would allow a lot of black people to get up overnight.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Minister Daoud, and I actually say that in the book. When we look at building a stronger credit union, having Omega Psi Phi divest its commercial investments and into its own credit union, it could make it stronger, because our credit union is pretty strong, but we don't use it that much. And if we used it more so, like most of our revenue, we don't even put in our own credit union. And so I'm an advocate for pushing us to do that, because in the chapter I say that we could build trade schools to teach our youth the skills that to gain meaningful businesses and gain meaningful employment, but as well as having their own business, like in a skill. And we could give the loans to our young brothers and sisters to give them those skills, just like what you just said, that you should not have to struggle if you're a young black man, young black woman that wants to make something out of yourself and you don't necessarily want to go to a traditional college. Then we should be able to provide not scholarships, but also if someone wants to have a loan for that we could provide that through our own systems. That's exactly what I write and why I'm writing it. So thank you for bringing that point.
Oh, yes, sir. I mean, that's, skills is my passion.
Yes.
Somewhere in my adult life. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was saying skills are the way to go now. Like most of the skills that you learn will allow you to earn much more than you would through a 4-year degree with a lot of loans and everything else. It just depends on the degree. But there are numerous degrees, and they're selling this to our children, our youth, and they're going to get these fluffy degrees that don't allow them to even understand the skills that are necessary not only to build, but in order to have a living for yourself. You can't live on just I mean, it's good to know sociology, it's good to know psychology, but it's not going to put food on your table. You're going to have to go somewhere and hustle to try and get a job. But if you learn how to do solar panels, if you learn how to be a locksmith, if you learn how to put together microchips or that sort of thing, industrial design, you can write your own ticket.
Right. Which is very, very, very important to me, writing your own ticket. That's, one of the things I'm working on because, one thing I see in my industry is I see a lot of old-timers who, like my dad says, first of all, one of the things my dad always says to me, he says that the old-timers used to tell him, now, mind you, my dad is 70 years old, and one of the things he says the old-timers used to always tell him is if you see a black man anywhere in any industry, that black man is 9 times more qualified than all those white people that he's with, or else he wouldn't even be there.
Yeah.
We are made, though, to feel as though we're not qualified so they don't have to pay us the same wage as everybody else. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But for me, it's like I think that what happens is that when you look at the old-timers in my industry, they all have what my dad calls a walk-around education. In other words, like they don't have any kind of letters behind their name. They don't have any kind of certifications or anything like that. So, and I'm talking about white old-timers, not even black ones. So when the time comes, if they lose the job at that company that they've been working at for let's just say like 10, 20, 30 years, they can't get entry into another company because now all of these companies are looking for people who, have been tested and certified. So here's a guy who has so much basically experience from all of these years, and he can't get work anymore because he doesn't have the credentials. To me, if you live in America, and a lot of people is fighting us on this whole, we don't want to go to Africa, we don't, you don't have to go, but if you stay in America, you damn sure going to have to deal with the certification question because in the future, you will, God knows what you'll be doing if you don't have a piece of paper or any letters behind your name.
Yes, that's absolutely right, Brother Louis. There was a plumber that came to my house, and he did some work, and I asked him. He was a white man, and I asked him. I said, "What was your apprenticeship? How did you get into plumbing?" And he said that he had a job, and he was messing around, and someone told him that a man was doing plumbing. I should talk to him. And he was able to get in, and he's making a living for himself much more than anybody that may have 2 master's degrees. And it's based on a skill, but it's also based on the fact that they had, meaning white people, had ability to have the structure that will allow him to do that. So we have to build our structure so that the men that you just mentioned, that your father mentioned to you, whether if they got laid off from a position, they have all these skills, we should have the ability to make sure that we have our firms and we have the ability to not only hire them but utilize their skills to build us as a people. So that's a strong point, Brother Dawood.
No doubt. Hold on a second, brother. Let me see if these 2 callers would like to say something. Caller from the 847, did you have any questions? Do you want to say something?
Nah, this is Chef Rob. I'm just listening, brother. Great information. Good show. Let me just make a quick comment or statement, I guess. I'm stuck on the financing and everything here. That's the part I'm in. And so I am very much interested in getting the credit union going and started under the BAIO. I really want to know more about the initial startup. What you need. I know you need signatures and a certain amount of cash. So I think that digging into that a little bit more, we can go ahead and help ourselves and help others. So that's my point.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Good.
Yes, and I'll research that more too for you, Brother Chef Rob, because that's very important. And I'm very happy to hear that you're trying to move in that direction because it's very important.
Good. Okay, peace, Brother Chef.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Caller from the 850, did you want to say something?
No, brother, this is Brother Jonathan, man. What's going on, Mr. Dawood?
Oh, everything is good, brother.
Yeah, just listening in. Good information. It's going to take a lot of skills from everybody. Skills, dedication, hard work, and I think we can get it done, man.
Yes.
No doubt. Now, you're still in school, though, Brother Jonathan, aren't you?
Yep. I got class tomorrow. I just started this second semester, and some of these skills I'm learning directly deal with the first two letters in LIN. Completely. Like I have a class called GIS, and it's gonna basically I'm gonna be in the lab for like 10, 15 hours, per session. So it's a lot of work, man.
Yeah, and GIS is what? GIS?
Geographic Information Systems. It's spatial data. So when you pull up a map, there's different layers that come up with information, talking about traffic information, land values, different things of that nature. And then you put them all together, and people are able to come up with different pieces of information that tells you about the land that you're dealing with.
Ah, wow, that's valuable, brother. yeah. And what is the actual major? What's your actual major?
Urban and regional planning. But
okay. Wow. Yeah, I like that. You learn well in there. Learn everything they're teaching you.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. But that's what we're saying here. We just all want to get all the skills that we all can, get and put it together and build something for our people.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the main goal and that's the main objective. And the quicker we do that, the quicker we can really do for self.
Yeah, that's divine. I think, this is great.
Yep. But yeah, you guys go ahead. This is good information. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for calling in, Brother Jonathan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of our young stars. It's a bright brother. I mean, I can't even say enough about that brother. So, anyway, I guess winding down to a close because we got about 13 minutes left, brother. I guess I want to ask, let's see, because now we're talking about nationhood. So here's the thing. Like last week, we dealt with a lot of different topics, and one of the topics that we did deal with is we dealt with, and me and you touched on this kind of in the beginning, but I want to bring it more into flesh now because this kind of has me thinking a whole lot. Okay, so you have your brother or sister that calls themselves a revolutionary, and this person wants to overthrow the system that they are living in. They want to try to change the system that they're living in. They're the we can do it right here kind of guy and girl. Then you have your brother or sister that's a nationalist. Their solution to the global problem, or not really the global problem, is to the creation of their own nation so you could control more. Mm-hmm. Are you in line with these definitions? And if not, what is your take on it?
Yeah, I'm definitely in line with the definition of creating your own nation and building your own nation. In building the infrastructure that can allow that nation to thrive. I don't see any other viable ways of total liberation without that. But as I mentioned earlier in the show, in the beginning, I think that it may seem basic, and it's fundamental to you and I and Brother Johnson and that we just spoke to, and many brothers and sisters that listen to this show. But for the masses of people, we will need a revolution of thought, at least, in order to have us all move in a mass way to build and make that happen.
I got you. Okay. So I got you.
Yeah.
All
yeah.
right.
But you know what, Brother Dawood, as I say that, I also want to say that, one alternative is that you don't necessarily need a revolutionary mindset for the masses. We could continue to build amongst the people that are aware, that are conscious, and continually reproduce and grow with the people that we have. It's like they say with the baseball term: if you build it, they will come. So
right.
So
right.
if we continue to have our thing together as nationalists, then we can, people that are suffering here that look like you and I and realize they can't get anywhere looking like you and I here, and they'll more than willingly go someplace where they can get a better way. So that's one way of looking at it as well.
I got you. Yes, sir. I can say definitely for myself, and what I found out more and more is, I definitely think that it's more so going to be with people who think in the nationalist way. You know what I'm saying? Because quite frankly, and I was having this discussion with my wife earlier today. I try my best to, not to be flashy, to brag or anything like that, but I try my best to talk to people about the value of having a skill. Every one of my brothers who are admins in the BAIO has some kind of skill, or is working on a skill, or is working on their second or third skill. So I try to promote that because somewhere in my adult life, I realized that was the sum total. It was the ultimate center that you should center yourself around, because that's the only way, A, of supporting yourself, and B, I believe that as men and even as women, what you do defines you. But what I'm finding out is, unfortunately, a lot of black people are not taking hold of that idea. They pay lip service to it and act like they're down for it. But the reality of it is that they're not really taking hold of that idea. So I think that, I have people who I call me, and we discuss what we're doing this week as far as, what milestones that we're trying to accomplish in our chosen fields. That's a very small circle, little brother. So that's one thing. If I could want to leave my mark on America before, I eventually go to this new nation that we're creating. If there's one thing that I would like to leave my mark on, is to produce more people thinking about that, to help the nation and to help yourself. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I definitely agree with what you're saying, because it's just not enough people thinking in that way.
Yes, I think so. But certainly what you're doing is so pivotal, because we often don't read a lot, but for your communication skills are like really understated. I mean, you have your occupation that puts bread on your table for your family, but what you're doing in communications, Minister Dawood, is so valuable to us as well. Being able to broadcast and ask the questions and be organized, that mark that you're putting on the world right now is just phenomenal, and I really appreciate it, Minister Dawood, what you're doing, and I'm happy to hear it. It's divine.
Thank you very much, brother. Okay, well, I guess we're going to wind it down. Is there anything that you want to say before we close out?
I do want to mention that I was trying to give that information to Chef Rob. The National Credit Union Administration is where you would go. That would be a lead to try and find out, how you can get all the rules to set up your federal credit union. And I do have that in the book as well. That's where Omega Psi Phi went, and we actually became the first fraternal organization to do so, and be and have that on as a world chartered credit union. So that's something that Chef Rob should keep in mind. It's NCUA, the National Credit Union Administration. He can go there. And so lastly, I just want to thank you again. I'll be very active in following your movement and doing whatever I can to support BAI and BAIO, and actually maybe at some point be a part of it, because it's definitely what is needed, and we'll definitely. I hope that we'll be doing a lot in the future together, Minister Daoud.
Yes, sir. Well, you definitely from time to time see us, and we will definitely hook up on some occasions. All right, brother. Well, can you plug your book one more time, also?
Okay, it's called All Revolutionary Cues Proposes Revolution for Black Fraternity Relevance to the Global African Struggle, and you can find it on Amazon.com.
Okay. Thank you very much for being on.
Minister Daoud, I'll also be at the Left Forum in New York City in May 20th, 2016.
The Left, what's that?
The Left Forum is a place where all progressive-minded people from all over the world come together to discuss strategies on how to build to end oppression and build up movements to elevate the masses of people, rather than keeping the corporate elite strong and continually oppressing the entire planet, really. So there'll be people from Asia there, there'll be people from Africa there, there'll be people from here. Typically, you'll have a lot of good people that are in the movement of doing the types of things that you're interested in BAIO. So look it up.
Well, keep me posted on that,
it's the Left Forum. Definitely.
Yeah, keep me posted on that, because I definitely come down there, because I'm not very far from New York City. I'm only like 3 hours, so I can come down there, and maybe that way we can meet in person, and that's something that I probably would want to experience with my family as well. So, all right, big brother, thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Have a great day, and we'll be in touch.
Okay. Thanks again.